Assessment of productivity constraints in building construction industry. Abstract construction management deals with planning, organizing, securing and managing resources to bring out the successful completion of specific engineering project goal and objectives. Assessment of productivity in construction industries includes identifying the key constraints to on-site labor productivity and improvement measures. This study aims to identify the key constraints to on-site labor productivity and improvement measures. Using the descriptive survey method, views of some project managers, contractors, and subcontractors in Kolhapur was canvassed via pilot interviews and questionnaire surveys at the qualitative and quantitative data gathering stages, respectively. Multi-attribute technique was used to analyze the quantitative data. Results showed that the key external constraints to on-site labor productivity comprise, in order of decreasing impact, statutory compliance, unforeseen events, and wider external dynamics. The internal constraints were found to have much higher impact on on-site productivity than the external factors. In order of diminishing levels of impact, the internal constraints comprise reworks, level of skill and experience of the workforce, adequacy of method of construction, buildability issues, and inadequate supervision and coordination. The factors underlying each broad category of external and internal constraints are reported. The relative levels of impact of the identified constraints are expected to guide the project team in addressing the constraints in a cost-effective manner. Keywords: construction management, labor productivity, performance improvement, productivity constraints. Introduction. The construction industry is a sector of the economy that transforms various resources into constructed physical, economic and social infrastructure necessary for socio-economic development. It embraces the process by which the said physical infrastructure are planned, designed, procured, constructed, or produced, altered, repaired, maintained, and demolished. Productivity is one of the important components of every company's success and competitiveness in the market. The concept of productivity is related to the quality of input, output, and process. Productivity helps to achieve cost savings and profit. A productive industry may also be profitable, which allows growth and innovation and have a positive effect on the society. The profit or loss of a construction contractor depends upon the company's productivity, which responds to market competition. Productivity enables a company to be competitive, set goals, and meet stakeholder and financial health. At an industry level, productivity enables to maintain satisfied client, attractive investments, and contribute to the economic growth. Improvement in the productivity of the construction industry, hence, is an important and critical aspect. Productivity in context. Productivity is a complex concept that could be interpreted in varied contexts depending on the objectives sought. The objectives in turn determine the parameters involved in its assessment in relation to the benchmark used for its comparison. This is a definition that fits well with different perspectives. It emphasizes creativity and innovation, which target achieving more outputs with less resource inputs by re-engineering the production or service delivery process and optimizing the resource leverage. The benchmark for comparison is critically important because productivity outcome in itself is meaningless except if it can be compared with a benchmark. The comparison could be intra-entity, i.e. comparing productivity outcomes within a given entity across a time period with a view to gaining insights into the implicit trend. It could also be inter-entities, i.e. comparing productivity outcomes across similar entities with a view to determining the relative levels of productivity of the entities at a snapshot or across a time horizon. The objectives to be achieved, the resources employed, the measures adopted and the benchmarks used for comparison give rise to different definitions of or perspectives on productivity. The common threads in all definitions or contextual interpretations of productivity relate to effectiveness, i.e. how effective is the leveraging of the resources to achieve the set objectives. E.g. a system can be adjudged productive in effectiveness context, if the set objectives are achieved through effective resource leverage. Efficiency, i.e. in achieving the set objectives, how efficient was the utilization of the scarce resources in the implementation process. Overall, an operational definition of productivity that fits well with the various approaches to defining the concept A, which draws upon the output-input paradigm. A is the amount or quantity of output of a process per unit of resource input, where output could be in units or dollar value of product or service, revenue generated or value added. Resource input could be in units or dollar value relating to manpower, i.e. man-hour, machinery, i.e. machine hour, materials, i.e. quantity, or money, i.e. dollar value. The nature of the resource input or a combination of inputs also informs the type of productivity and the measures used to evaluate it, as shown in equation 1. The two most common types of productivity are the single-factor and multi-factor productivity. The former considers only one of the resource inputs as the denominator to equation 1, while the latter considers all resource inputs for a more holistic perspective. Research method. The study relied on experience-based feedback in building construction industry Kolhapur on the key on-site productivity constraints from those at the forefront of project implementation: the structural consultants, contractors, builders, architect as the source of the primary data. The descriptive survey was therefore chosen as the most appropriate research method. This involved the use of pilot interviews and questionnaire surveys at the qualitative and quantitative data gathering stages, respectively. The questionnaire was filled by the structural consultants, contractors, builders, architect. The 10 to 15-minute response to the survey involved rating the constructs using a 5-point Likert scale, but with provision for further inputs on additional constructs which were not included in any given subset. Key constraints to on-site labor productivity in building construction industry, Kolhapur. At the questionnaire survey of 40 building construction firms, the constraints mentioned by the interviewees as key constraints to on-site labor productivity in the building construction industry, Kolhapur. Construction were classified under broad categories as finance, project, human resources, automation, safety, on-site, disaster, socio-economic, time, miscellaneous, each comprise of 5 broad categories, viz. Result and conclusion. As per the questionnaire survey of the 40 building construction firms in Kolhapur, the key constraints are finance. Late payment of wages is the major factor, having 5 Likert scale, which will impact on the productivity in building construction industry. Diversion of funds is rated as 4 Likert scale by the experts or the interviews, so it also has a great impact on the productivity in building construction industry. Project. Hiring a PMC will have a positive impact on the productivity in building construction industry. Delay in decision making has a major impact, having 3 Likert scale. Human resources. Lack of experience and low teamwork have a great impact, having 3.5 Likert scale. Atomization. Lack of specific tools, internal network of approach and utility have 3 Likert scale effect on the productivity in building construction industry. Safety. Safety precaution not taken and medical care not available have 4.5 Likert scale on the impact on the productivity in building construction industry. On-site. Poor site condition, inadequate transportation capacity for workers has 4 Likert scale on the impact on the productivity in building construction industry. Let delivery of drawing has 3 Likert scale on the impact on the productivity in building construction industry. Disaster. Natural disaster has 4 Likert scale on the impact on the productivity in building construction industry. Poor planning for emergency has 4.5 Likert scale on the impact on the productivity in building construction industry. Socio-economic. Appreciation of work has 3 Likert scale on the impact on the productivity in building construction industry. Energy crises and communication has 2.5 Likert scale on the impact on the productivity in building construction industry. Time. Waiting idle of labor, equipment, working overtime has 4 Likert scale on the impact on the productivity in building construction industry. Miscellaneous. Procurement method and complication in project have 4 Likert scale on the impact on the productivity in building construction industry. To improve the building construction productivity, the key constraints should be considered. The other factors which has less impact Likert scale on the impact on the productivity in building construction industry are alcoholism, changes in design, time pressure, quality supervision.